have a very important message today for college and university students across Pennsylvania. We need your help. We are seeing significant increases in COVID-19 cases in 19 to 24-year-olds throughout the state. I'd like to highlight two areas of the state that have seen the biggest increases. In north central Pennsylvania, in April, approximately 7% of cases were in people ages 19 to 24. So far in September, 69% of the cases in north central Pennsylvania are in 19 to 24-year-olds. In the Northeast, 6% of cases in April were in 19 to 24-year-olds, and so far for September, 40% of cases are in that age group. Throughout the rest of the state, we are also seeing an average of about a 19% increase in the number of cases in 19 to 24-year-olds compared to April. So why the big jump in cases? The most significant difference between the case increases that we are seeing now and what we saw in April is that colleges and universities are back in session. College and university students are uniquely positioned now to help change the course of the spread of this virus by changing and adapting your actions to protect yourself, your friends, and others in the community. You are very welcome guests in the community where your school is based. But what happens on campus directly impacts everyone off campus and in the community. Increases in COVID-19 cases impact local children and their ability to go to school in person. Increase in COVID-19 cases impact local businesses and their ability to stay open. And increases in COVID-19 cases impact the courageous and brave individuals who care for our most vulnerable residents in other healthcare settings such as long-term care facilities. So here's what you can do today, right now, to stop the spread of COVID-19. If you test positive for COVID-19, isolate according to public health experts' orders. Even if you are not feeling ill, you are still contagious. If you have come in contact with someone who has tested positive, you need to quarantine for 14 days after the last time you were exposed to that person. Even if during that 14 days you test negative, you still actually have to quarantine for 14 days because of the incubation period. If you are out on campus or visiting with friends, you need to wear a mask. You need to social distance, avoid large groups, and wash your hands and use hand sanitizer. One of the biggest lessons that we have learned from this pandemic is that we are all interconnected and interdependent on each other, really in every way. The virus has passed through every societal barrier because asymptomatic individuals can and do unknowingly and unintentionally infect others. We must be united. We must stand united in our efforts to stop this virus from doing more damage to our communities, our families, and our friends. So, as always, stay calm, stay alert, and please stay safe. And now I'm pleased to answer your questions. Yes?
Well, Secretary, I was just wondering, with this court decision that has come out today, can you tell us, does the administration intend to request a stay, or, what's your opinion of the net effect of this judge's order?
So, as you know, I'm not an attorney, and so my opinion is not the issue. But I know that we have received the opinion, and the Office of General Counsel and all of our attorneys are reviewing it. So I really can't say more at this time.
Does it cancel out the limits on social gatherings? I'm just wondering how people go read this and to try to determine how they proceed.
Well, that is the concern. And again, from a legal perspective, our attorneys will be deciding how to respond. But there are three ways to address and prevent the spread in something like a global pandemic, right? And we've talked about this before. You can work to contain it. to contain the spread. And we are doing that right now and have done that all along. We are increasing our testing. Those that are positive need to isolate. We then do our contact tracing. Those contacts have to quarantine for 14 days from the last time that they were exposed. And in that way, we can contain the spread. The second is to mitigate the spread. And we have done that in a targeted way throughout the entire pandemic as well. In the spring, on a much more global level, and then in the summer increase on a more specific targeted level in terms of the restaurants and large gatherings, bars, etc. There was a recent article in the last from the CDC in the last week or so that highlighted the spread in restaurants and bars, and that was successful in terms of bending the curve and decreasing the amount of new cases. That was noted by Dr. Birx a week or so ago, and how successful that was. So this was with the support of the White House task force. Anything that limits our ability and the number of tools we have is a challenge to public health. Yes?
Will you and the governor be going back and looking at some of these guidelines that were going to be going into effect September 21st for restaurants and bars?
So it's hard for me to comment at this time. The decision just came down today. And again, our attorneys are looking very carefully at it. And so then we will determine our course. But we have not made any decisions at this time.
And just given the increase in cases on the college campuses, is it your direction at any point that the colleges say, okay, let's bag this idea of in-person classes and go back to the remote learning?
Well, that's up to each individual college to decide in terms of their testing and their information. We'd be glad to discuss those issues with the college, but it is their decision. What's very important, however, for colleges is that even if they do go to remote learning, is they not just send everybody home. That would lead to a diaspora of potentially positive individuals back to their local communities and could lead to a spread. Dr. Fauci has said this, Dr. Birx has said this, and really many public health officials. They can't just send everybody home because that could lead to actually even more spread of the virus COVID-19. So they need to look and see what's on their college campuses and do robust testing, and then make decisions about what's best for that individual college. Yes?
Without speaking to the legal strategy, but you certainly can say that I would assume that you don't want people to begin holding mass gatherings, or you strongly recommend that schools don't begin.
So we strongly recommend that people continue to practice the efforts to stop the spread of this virus. And so, of course, that means mask wearing, that means hand sanitizer and hand washing, and it also means the social distancing that we have discussed and avoiding large gatherings. So it's critically important, no matter what the court case is that people follow these very important guidelines and are united in doing that to stop the spread of the virus. As I said in my comments, we are all interconnected. We are all interdependent and related to each other in terms of the spread of this virus, and we all have a collective responsibility to try to prevent the spread.
Thank you, Secretary.
Thank you very much.